Hello and welcome back to Alpha Tauri. We're at Monza. It's a sprint weekend and there is quite literally nothing to get caught up on. The only thing to potentially mention is the fact that we're now only 2 points away from 100 points. So that milestone, if we get 9th or better in this race, or indeed just 2 singular points from both the sprint and the race, we'll see us over the 3-digit mark. So that's something to look forward to. I'll see you for qualifying. Well, it looks like Monza's the track for penalties this year. It was Zandvoort last year, I'm pretty certain, or that might be the regular F1 game. But that tends to be the confluence of penalties previously. But Monza has, is that 6 people? Yes, Perez, Stroll, Verstappen, Nick de Vries. There's no incidents. None of these are collision penalties. Pierre Gasly and Magnussen all with penalties. Ignore our position, obviously we're conserving everything. Interestingly, both of our drivers have come out directly behind another one, and only Magnussen's going to get in the way. I wonder how well we slipstreamed them. Neither driver went faster on their second lap, so I think we may have slipstreamed those vehicles. It's a relatively short lap. Interesting, by the way. Norris just flipped from being out lap to flying lap here on the back side of the track. Leclerc might do the same shortly, unless he's on an in lap. Roughly where they are right now, that's where he flipped over to being on an actual flying lap. So he might be able to get a flying lap in before we even want to get out. So we can see the kind of gains that people are getting. Ooh, de Vries has just gone 6th. I don't know where he was before. That de Vries time has actually just concerned me. Here comes Norris on his flying lap. I want to see what kind of times he makes, if any. So Norris hasn't improved there. So this is the crucial moment to come out in Q1 if we want to, because Perez is on an out lap. We've got to make sure we get out ahead of him so that when we push, we stay ahead of him. Don't hinder him and thus hinder us when we want to move on to ours. So we want to get out ahead of the people who are just about to start their flying laps, whilst being on effectively the same lap as everyone else who's on an out lap right now. So we keep traffic to a minimum. We'll obviously clear Norris as well, who's on an in lap. I just don't know if it's worth it. The 2 Saubers are definitely slower. The 2 Hasses are definitely slower. This is a track that suits us as well as the power track. I feel relatively confident, especially as Norris is guaranteed slower now, actually, as well. Oh, is Guan Yu on track? No, he's not come out again. Norris, Hulk, and Magnussen are all guaranteed slower, and I'm pretty certain the Saubers are slower, so I'm willing to risk it. There's 3 people who definitely aren't going faster, and the Saubers aren't going to go faster. The Mercs will expect to go ahead of us, but beyond them, we're not too bothered. Hamilton didn't actually even go faster, so Gasly did. Remarkably, all 5 of the penalty takers that are in the top 7 in Q1, then there's Kevin. By the way, light rain in the race. Tsunoda might slipstream Russell on his second flying lap here. This could be a really good time from Tsunoda. Okay. It's a short enough lap here, we can definitely get away with 2 flying laps, so that's why I did it. Right, so we're not going to do the same mistake we did last time. We'll slow things down as we assess the situation. Hamilton way slow, Leclerc way slow. Norris, I think, was just slower anyway in Q1, so we won't worry about him too much. Magnussen's done a much better time than they did in Q1. Tsunoda on the tails of Russell and Stroll in 6th right now, but ahead of de Vries crucially, who was faster in Q1 somehow. Gasly went ahead of us in Q1 as well, but Ocon didn't. So there's more from Alex, I think. And bear in mind we did those times on used tyres. Tsunoda did that second time on used tyres. Those tyres were pretty dang worn by the time Tsunoda was slipstreaming Russell for his second flying lap there. So it might be more in Tsunoda, and there's definitely more in Alex, who I think actually hit Russell on his out lap at the worst. Not actually hit. Had to pass Russell in a chicane rather than a straight. I mean, there's no question we send him again, but that is quite a batch of people coming out now. We don't need to be ahead of them, we just need to be on the same lap as them, because we want to be coming out a little bit later than them, so we kind of want to be coming out when Ocon's on the far side of the track. We also don't want to get stuck on Perez on what will be his in-lap. You know what I'm also going to do? I'm actually going to send Tsunoda on his attack mode earlier and get Tsunoda ahead of Alex. It's Alex in danger, so it's Alex we'll go on board with, and he is the second driver of the 2 right now. Both drivers have got their tyres up to temperature, both pushing through Parabolica. And away we go for a flying lap of Monza. Yuki giving the toe to Alex, who needs it more. And a completely clean track as well, otherwise. No danger of catching the in-lapping Perez. Some of that batch that was ahead of us coming out of the pits has actually caught some of the people who came out around the same time of us, because they didn't push. Obviously, they were a lot further back on track. So that first batch actually caught the second batch a little bit. I don't know if anyone got like properly hindered in all that, but so Alex has done the fastest sector 1 as you'd kind of expect. I'm not actually expecting Tsunoda to go any faster here. Leclerc's on a representative time. Tsunoda's down to 8th as things stand. Norris has locked in 13th. There is obviously a real danger that Alex actually usurps Tsunoda's place in the top 10 if we're not careful here, but Tsunoda ahead, and Alex has definitely gained on Tsunoda on this lap. Blimey. Alex goes 7th. Well, this has given us the best opportunity to have 2 drivers in the top 10. Now, I'm pretty certain most of the people that were in the bottom 5 originally started their outlaps ahead of us, so they may have crossed the line with a lap to go. Magnussen and Alonso are on flying laps, and they could actually ruin Tsunoda. Fully expect Alonso. There we go. But it's only Magnussen we've got to worry about. It's following Ferrari, so he might get a bit of a slipstream. Although it is Sainz who was on a flying lap to begin with. Magnussen does it. By how much? Yuki's lap time was a 121 flat. That was terrible from Yuki on his actual lap there, by the way. 8 thousandths. But realistically, Albon has the better car as well at this point in time. So it was definitely right to maximise Albon. But it's just whether or not, if Albon had slipstreamed Yuki, whether both of them could have got through there. I thought Yuki was a little safer than he was. Wasn't really expecting Magnussen. And Stroll went fastest in all that. I didn't even notice that one. Blimey. So we'll actually let some people come out before Alex comes out, just so there's less chance of hindrance on this lap. He'll be getting a distant toe off Magnussen, but then Magnussen's getting a toe off Verstappen, who's getting a toe off Hamilton. So I imagine Verstappen's time is unbelievable. It is, yeah. 2 tenths faster than anything we've seen so far today. It's funny that even on conserve, they still drive faster than the automated cars. But yeah, Magnussen was definitely helped by that kind of double toe. Also comes out for a second lap really early there. That might be a problem for everyone else later on. Oh, so here's the real batch of people. Oh, I was so laugh if Hamilton's just ruined George's lap. I'm going to send Alex out now because I don't want George to be a problem. But don't forget that, of course, there is a sprint to make up any more places, and that would probably ruin any race incentives anyway, because we seem to do all right in sprints these days. So off we go then. No one to contend with, no one ahead of us, no one behind us, no one slipstreaming us, crucially, no one slipstreaming Magnussen, crucially as well. There's a bit of a wad of vehicles just about to... Actually, are any of those people doing Parabolica now actually going to make the checkered flag? 1 second, that's it. None of them made it. Russell was already done, but none of them made it. Verstappen, Alonso, Sainz and Hamilton didn't make the checkered flag for their flying lap. Hamilton might have been okay, but Hamilton might have been on the flying lap originally. That was Perez's opportunity to steal it off Verstappen, as we have to deal with, I don't know which, must be Stroll because Alonso's taken checkered flag. I think Hamilton and Stroll were out of sync and ahead of people, so Hamilton may have actually just done a lap time, but got caught in that batch of cars, so irrelevant anyway for him. And Alex doesn't go faster on fresh tyres. What have you just done there, Alex? You've gone slower in every single sector. You've done a 121.4, which is appallingly slow. You didn't have to slow for Stroll there, did you? Maxon did a 120.5 in clean air. Albon's had an issue there. I don't know what he's done. Yeah, that was half a second slow. I mean, his best lap was half a second slower than Q1. You know what the depressing thing about Yuki Tsunoda is? His best time in Q1 was actually good enough to get into Q3. And now he doesn't have the Q3 tyre. Anyway, practice. I'll see you for the sprint. I just realised how boring that qualifying ended with Red Bull, Ferrari, Aston, Ferrari, Merc. It was only really 9 and 10 that were the surprise. And even then, Alex isn't that much of a surprise. That looks like, super aggressive mediums? Obviously, the penalties don't apply for the sprint, but bearing in mind that they qualified 10th and 11th, they would have started 6th and 7th if it had gone straight to a race at this point, which means 4 people ahead with penalties are good enough to go behind. And I think there's 5 people with penalties ahead, and then there's Pierre and someone else behind already. There's either 6 or 7 people with penalties in total. But either way, sprint.
It's time for a sprint around Monza. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Fascinatingly, Verstappen started on hards. No, that's Perez, actually. Sorry, Perez started on hards. Just to ruin any chance of him actually getting anywhere in this race. Majority of people have started on mediums. I say majority, actually. It's 6 hard runners, 6 soft runners, and 8 medium runners. So technically a majority, I guess, but everyone got away cleanly. And do not forget, of course, we do actually line up 10 and 11 for the sprint. Realistically, our main goal here is to get Magnussen and Magnussen only. We have been helped by Gasly going on hards for this. But in racing conditions, Magnussen is really the only claimable target from that top 10. The other top 8 qualified, as they probably should, in total. It will be interesting to see what happens to Verstappen, Alonso, Sainz long term, but also Perez and Leclerc short term. We have seen that even though those that start on hards obviously struggle, they do actually tend to get the better of the soft runners at the very end of the sprints, for the most part. So particularly in this one, where the soft tyre runs a little short at the end, I suspect those hard runners will still be faster than softs in probably like the last 5 laps or so, I'd imagine. But there's also an awful lot of people on mediums, which is probably the right tyre to be on. And I don't think those hard runners will ever be faster than the mediums. So Perez and Leclerc are being really helped out by the fact that it's Stroll on a medium directly behind them, because that is preventing anything going on from Alonso and Sainz. But Leclerc is causing a train, as is Gasly, who's on the harder course behind. But Alex gets Magnussen there in a spot I didn't even notice happened. We're already 0.5 under on fuel, which is a bit concerning because that is quite a rapid... Oh, we've lost our battery entirely as well. That is quite a rapid loss of fuel. But now we're in a DRS train. We might be okay. But it does concern me we lost that much fuel that quickly because it does probably mean it's going to be difficult to recover. And now we're no longer pushing on two separate fronts. I wonder how easy it will be to hold on. But I'm hoping everyone else is not pushing as hard as they were before as well now. So I saw Stroll attempting to overtake Leclerc there, and now I see Stroll plummeting through the order. I can't click on him. Oh, he is stationary. So Stroll was trying to overtake Leclerc. Stroll had overtaken Leclerc and then just took too much speed into the corner. I said Stroll needs nerfing, but he's genuinely doing that all on his own accord. By the way, I have seen the background numbers. Stroll's development rate number is ridiculous. For his current age, bear in mind he's not that old, but he's also not that young. For the age he's at, his development rate number is actually higher than Albon's. Like, the game genuinely thinks Stroll has more potential than Albon. Bearing in mind they're on the same overall rating at this point in time. Albon's older, but interestingly, the medium tyres don't seem to be overheating that much. Okay, that is the threshold though, 130, 140. Senna got Magnussen, must have literally just done it this lap. We generally might just be okay to slam these tyres to the end. Say, if Snowden could get clear of Magnussen, that'd be great. I was about to say why we're 8th and 9th, and I just remembered Stroll. Okay, so I think Magnussen's capable of fighting back, but I don't really think that's going to go anywhere. I did look like Sonoda was about to drop Magnussen. He has now done it. Unfortunately, now De Vries is challenging. Why is De Vries challenging? Oh, Hamilton ran wide. Albon's upper position. Even on 5 push, Yuki's actually outdoing these a little bit. So De Vries was catching Sonoda. Was Magnussen on soft? Did they just go off? No. Okay. Sonoda just overtook Hamilton. We don't get replays of it, of course, but interesting that Hamilton didn't make the move back. Of course, they are the points in the sprint, aren't they? So, as things stand, we're actually hitting the 100 mark before the race even begins. It is a little bit weird the game doesn't recognise the sprint as a point-scoring race. Good. I don't mind Hamilton getting through, but I don't want De Vries getting through. I'd like to keep a little bit of life in these tyres. My concern is De Vries here, though. To be fair, I'm not expecting Yuki to hold on to 8th from Hamilton long-term here. Like, the Mercs are notably faster, but for some reason, I mean, both of us are ahead of Hamilton there. Now De Vries is challenging Sonoda. Actually, be behind him by the detection point. It could be really good for Sonoda there. Alex seems to have just enough to hold on to, I suppose it's a hard-running Leclerc in 5th, but Alonso is leading that pack. Albon's just sort of staying about 8/10 behind them with DRS. He might need to just need to pick things up a little bit just to sort of stay in that range, but Sonoda having a real go at De Vries now. What tyre is Hamilton on, by the way? Medium. See, this is where it gets actually interesting because the soft runners are actually running out of tyre a little bit. Not massively, but they are beginning to run out of tyre. Although, to be fair, they're on exactly the same tyre wear pretty much as our mediums. But at the same time, they can't push them. We can. There's only 4 laps remaining. We're on 56%. We should be all right. I say, we managed to track above a little bit there. So we should probably hit about 40% by the end of the race. We might just dip under on the last lap. Interesting that Hamilton can't keep up. I am marginally concerned by Sonoda here. Just because he is fighting De Vries every single lap. Like, incident chances are not minimal here when you consider the participants in this fight. Yuki's control still isn't above 80. And De Vries is De Vries. Though we have actually recovered the fuel, so come the last lap, we might be able to push fuel. Yeah, so we should finish this race with 40% tyres at least. Alex is fine. He's sort of comfortably 7th without actually doing anything. Alex isn't going to get Russell or Sainz or anyone, so I'm happy to just sort of bring down the pace a little bit on Alex, just to sort of guarantee that a little bit more. We can actually probably push that fuel a tad just to sort of counterbalance that. De Vries has now actually fallen out of Yuki's battle, so we might just hold off on him a little bit as well. He's also got a smidge extra fuel that he can burn. Hamilton's actually closing annoyingly rapidly on just to make sure we get to the checkered flag. 7th and 8th, ahead of Hamilton, ahead of De Vries. Gasly, Ocon, Zhou, Magnussen ended up 14th. Shows how badly he overqualified that. In just 18 laps, he ended up down in 14th. Stroll only recovered to 18th. Perez took Verstappen in the end. The soft tyre was the wrong choice, 100%. So Perez on those hards did actually do a good thing, but I don't know if they've got extra hards now. So don't forget that both Perez and Verstappen have penalties. I don't remember Max having a penalty before today. Lance K-Mag, obviously ahead of us in qualifying, no longer ahead of us for the actual race anyway. Nick De Vries and Pierre Gasly were behind us to begin with and still have their penalties. Maybe they did, actually. Maybe they did both have penalties. And I think the numbers are still the same total-wise. So I could have sworn it was a Ferrari, not both Red Bulls, but never mind. And light rain in the race. So this means it's going to be one of those awkward, is it going to even be wet enough races, I think. Now, they say 1 stop is faster, but 2 stop you can obviously push on. But rain exists anyway. Oh my god, actually, that is not a light rain race. That is intermediates to the end. I'm going to say 12. I'm going to put like the latest I think it possibly could be, which is probably 14. Okay, you can still slam those tyres from there. And honestly, a 5 push on the intermediate still actually gets to the end. And just to check as well, apparently that'd be 14 seconds slower, but it's whether or not these tyres actually melt. Oh, it's a lot of rain, isn't it? So I'm going to take three laps out. It might be a bit crazy to do so, but I'm going to take 3 laps out just to give us the best possible start. Oh god, it's Monza, and our drivers are 5th and 6th. They're lining up next to each other. Mind you, they're lined up next to each other in the sprint, but...
Here we are at the oldest circuit in Europe for this, the Italian Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
So because of the penalties, it is Ferrari, Aston Martin, Ferrari, Russell, and now Tsunoda and Albon, because they are fighting each other, and I'm not going to tell them not to. Lightning can't strike twice, surely. Whoever's leading on lap 2, it's not really a home race for AlphaTauri here. Imola is more the home race. This is more Ferrari's turf, I think. But Alonso currently dashing the hopes of the Tifosi by taking the lead, and Russell's actually taken Sainz as well. Perez started 18th, but I think that's just because Gasly and Magnussen both had back of the grid penalties as well. That took him even further backwards. Verstappen either started 9th or 10th, but he's 9th now. Okay, 3 laps was a lot more than I thought it was for some reason. I thought we were going to be starting this race about 4 or 5 kilograms down, but yeah, we'll cover that in rain. Tsunoda's actually done really well on lap 1 though. He pulled out a gap on Albon. I don't know how or why. His car is technically worse. It's only one car part worse. It's just the suspension now, but like he's got the same chassis as Alex, at least now. So cost cap wise, by the way, just because of the bug that's preventing us seeing what the actual projection is for cost cap, I think we've either got 40 million there or thereabouts, or 25, using different methods of calculation that I've been informed might be valid. So I'll work on the lowercase expectation that we basically have got nothing spare, and we pray that we don't need to take any more engine parts. Gearboxes, ERSs we can get away with, but engines are our problem. I should have done 2 laps under and then pushed through the rain, but that's my bad. We should still be like significantly lighter than everyone else though, which is going to help. I'm actually just fascinated, no. So we're currently rolling with 90, well, we started basically with, after lap 1 we had 93, effectively. 96, 97, 99 for Piastri. Yeah, we underfueled massively. This is where the Alpine fuel efficiency comes in, because they started with 94. So we even underfueled the best efficient engine on the grid. Which slightly means those Alpines will be able to come back us at the end, because obviously everyone will naturally conserve their fuel and they'll be able to push it at the end, I suspect. Oh, that is Albon off the side of the track. What has he done there? Just in the wake of Yuki Tsunoda to drive straight off the track. Well, it makes things easy for the rain anyway, as he's parked. That one's a little... I will admit on that one, that was a little bit more difficult to rejoin safely, just because the racing line is on the curb. It's only not possible because, I mean, you're going to be in clean air now, but multiple cars have crashed and Sainz has a penalty. This is a highlight of Verstappen overtaking Tsunoda through DRS. Verstappen's all the way back up to 5th, by the way. He's having started 9th or 10th. It's only like lap 6, I think. Ah, there's the incident. We see it as well. Well, it benefited. Verstappen's now 3rd, actually. Perez is up to 13th, having started 18th. So we actually get to see this one properly. Is Hamilton attacking Sainz? I'm not fully certain whose fault that is, because it felt like Hamilton ran a bit deep into that corner, but that could just be animations. Sainz definitely turns in, so I can see why Sainz is being given the penalty. But it's whether or not Sainz had any room to actually make the corner himself, because he's certainly alongside. We've managed to get Tsunoda into the fight with Russell. That's Hamilton, but directly behind. George had like a very lonely sprint as sort of at the back of that pack of Ferraris, Astons and Red Bulls. I don't know what has happened there with Nick De Vries Crofty. So he's on the inside of a Sauber. He squeezes the Sauber out is what he does. I presume that's Bottas just because he's somewhat up the order. Sorry, Daniel, but you are terrible for some reason. Daniel has been done dirty there. Yeah, it was Bottas, and De Vries rightly penalised for that. All right, let's try and get some confidence back into Alex. Get some fastest laps in. That should help, because right now everything is taking a big old hit pace-wise, so let's get some fastest laps in from you, or personal best, you know what I mean. Or at the very least, let's try and overtake Ricciardo. So started raining lap 9, we think the switchover is going to be around lap 15 or so, something like that. 14, 15. Oh, it actually does look a little later, actually. If we could get Alex an overtake, do we reckon we're going to make the changeover period at this rate of tyre usage? Is a question. Tsunoda, by the way, I've not seen a notification that he's been re-overtaken by Russell. He seems to be doing a perfectly good job keeping them behind. Perez is up to 8th. It's lap 11. He started 18th. Verstappen's in the lead. Oh, God. It's depressing how quickly the game restores things to the order of car capability. Don't get me wrong. Red Bull, I think, is, you know, miles ahead of everyone else. But I do wish they'd move the needle back towards driver capability a little bit more. Max in a Red Bull, sure. Perez in a Red Bull, slightly less sure. Like, I feel like probably would have had a little bit more difficulty with people say, like, Norris, Ocon. Zhou Guan Yu, fine, because that Williams is out of order there. But, like, this is Stroll versus Perez, and they started... Well, Stroll would have been promoted a little bit, so he would still start about 16th, 17th. But they are now 7th and 8th. Like, Stroll in that Aston Martin should not be capable of doing what he's doing. The Aston Martin car is good, but Stroll is not. Right, it's obviously not optimum pit stop just yet. I'm just going to make sure they get to the pit stop lap here. There goes Russell through Tsunoda. We're certainly not far off now. Certainly not far... Oh, that might actually go lower than I thought, but we'll probably stay in intermediates. His sight's broken, by the way. Yeah, he doesn't have an end plate. Just because he's been going backwards, I wasn't fully certain why until now. Alright, so his confidence is back in medium at least, so he's only -1 thing. So back to a reasonable capability for him. He's still got to gain 4 seconds to get up to Hülkenberg and Piastri, but we might be able to make something through pit stops. Although, realistically, he is... Depending on how slow this is going up, he might be able to capitalise. Because we might be in a situation where it's not wet enough for Tsunoda to come in, but will be wet enough for... Hamilton's gone backwards, sorry. Will be wet enough for Albon to come in on the same lap just because he is about 20 seconds further back. But Tsunoda's in Russell's DRS, but Perez and Stroll... Perez has taken Stroll as well, but Perez and Stroll have come through Hamilton. See, this is what I mean. It should be way more difficult for them to get through Hamilton. But just because their car is better than the Mercedes car, they have no issue at all. Like, someone like Stroll should not be able to get Hamilton that easily. Because Hamilton is 89 rated and Stroll is 84 rated. The car capability difference should be negated by that 5-point overall difference. And Zhou Guan Yu pits now. It certainly wasn't well enough for Tsunoda to come in, as he's gone past the pit stop without me even realising. But Zhou Guan Yu has come in now at 70.71 millimetres. The pit entry for Albon is still another 700 metres, so we can let that roll down, see what the increase in wetness is at the last possible moment. Still only 0.72. I think it'd be early for Albon to come in. And Zhou is still the only one to have blinked. But I also reckon by the time he gets out of the pits, it's going to be a little bit wetter still. Like, Zhou is still in the pits and has gone up another 100th of a millimetre whilst he's in the pits. So it could easily be 7.3, 7.4 by the time Alex gets out. And then by the time we get round a lap, it's going to be at 0.8, where they're faster. Considering where he is, I'm willing to make that gamble. I'd be fascinated to see if Daniel comes in, you know, being as far back as he is. No, he doesn't. Because it's gone to 7.3 whilst before he's even come in there. So it's probably going to be about 7.4 by the time he gets out of this. Yeah, that's a slow pit stop from us. It might even be 7.5 by the time he actually gets going. We say we're just shy of that crossover. But it's effectively low risk from Alex because he was 19th to begin with. By the time Yuki gets there and out of there, it's definitely going to be good enough. Yuki's trying to overtake someone. We should really actually be looking at him. Russell's blinked, having gone too late in Zandvoort. Russell's blinked earlier. Ocon's come in. I think we might be seeing the wave of people now. Yeah, De Vries is in, Magnussen is in. In fact, the Alpine is double stacked, which is music to Albon's ears. Yeah, everyone's coming in now. I didn't really pay attention to Alex on his out lap, but yeah, he was on 5 push, no curbs, I think. Yeah, he was on 5 push, not avoiding curbs, so his tyres are up to temperature, so we'll see if he's actually gained anything. I'm not confident he has, if I'm completely honest. Ricciardo stayed out. Sainz had to serve a penalty, De Vries had to serve a penalty, so Alex has passed Sainz. Yeah, Alex didn't really gain anything there, although Piastri and Hülkenberg were the two that he was hunting at the time. So he may have actually gained, because he's only 3 seconds behind Bottas, who didn't have a penalty. Like, it may have slowly shifted towards Alex's favour at the end. It's not got that much damper, it's worth saying. Tsunoda lost out to Russell in the pit stops there. Not by much, but I think he was within a second before, and now he isn't. But everyone comes in now, apart from Leclerc. Oh, Ferrari. But Hülkenberg, Piastri, although... Is Piastri going to get double stacked with Norris there? They might be far enough apart to have gone away with that. See, this does confuse me because Tsunoda's behind Hamilton. Piastri and Hülkenberg have taken Bottas through the pit stops, which shouldn't have been a thing because we know the changeover is 0.8, where the intermediates are faster than the dry tyres, and yet here it hasn't been. Now, don't get me wrong, Leclerc's gone too late, but Tsunoda's having to go at Hamilton. A DRS might still be a thing because it's not technically a damp track yet. Tsunoda's behind at the detection point, crucially, and there still will be DRS. Leclerc should have lost out massively there, still driving around at 0.9, and he just hasn't. There's a yellow flag because George Russell is broken, but got going again. So that's a free place for Yuki. He's attacking Perez? Interesting that George was having to go with a Red Bull there. I didn't think he'd be capable of that. I mean, it had to be Perez because Verstappen's in the lead by miles, so is Alex gaining on the cars in front? Because he should be. Not really. So Tsunoda was threatening Hamilton for a bit there, but not really now, and DRS is deactivated. So do we reckon that's going to dip under intermediates for long enough to be a problem? Because we're at 1.25 now. No, I don't think it's going to be a problem. Certainly not to pit twice and still get a benefit. I'm kind of happy for Yuki to sit behind Hamilton. Like, I don't think we should kind of overreach ourselves here a little bit. It's wet, just be somewhat sensible. Yuki is hounding him. I mean, I don't think Yuki would be closer to Hamilton without actually crashing. So Albon's now on Piastri, who's 4 seconds off Hülkenberg. I don't know if Piastri's adaptability is any good. Russell has a broken back wing, doesn't he? So that's why he's dead slow now. Yeah, so he's plummeting. So if we can get to Russell before Piastri does, that'd be great. Nice little switcheroo on Piastri there, Alex. As Tsunoda overtakes Hamilton at the same time. Oh, careful. Careful, Yuki. He likes to squeeze people off here. Oh, thank God. We got past him before he managed to squeeze him off, Piastri style. Meanwhile, Albon did get Piastri, but we saw that one live. We won't watch that one again. I wonder if, because there's no DRS, I wonder if Yuki can actually get away from Hamilton. No is the answer. So the good news is Alex's confidence is back high again. So that's superb. So that's bringing his pace right up as he closes in on the stricken Russell. It is kind of depressing how there is just like a top 6 and then the rest exist, kind of, really. Sainz is wounded still, I think, because he's only taken Ricciardo and only Ricciardo. He's got a new front wing, but there must be other damage to that. So it's Albon through Russell, who really doesn't have much to fend off with there. I won't bother rewatching that. And we're getting fuel back at a lovely pace as well. Not as fast as I'd probably like. There might still be conservation to be had there. Russell's pitted, but that's the point. We're also not planning to pit again. Russell probably damaged his tyres, which was the issue there. I didn't actually check, but I suspect he probably ruined his tyres. But pretty much everyone's like 80% as well, so we're kind of on par with everyone else. So this is likely to go down to about 0.8, but I don't think it's ever going to be dry enough to come off these. So Alex has called out to people he should be overtaking. Tsunoda's kept Hamilton at bay, and there's not been any overtakes. DRS is now a thing, though. Because it's got dry enough for DRS, that's a smidge annoying. Gasly and Ocon are in the top 10 now. So they're going basically 2 by 2 on Norris, but by virtue of Norris blocking off Hülkenberg there, Alex has got Hülkenberg, and now he's going to attack Norris himself. Please don't mess it up. But we watch this replay now. I think Albon's not put it into Norris there. Yeah, so Hülkenberg was trying to overtake Norris there with DRS, but Norris kind of blocked him off, which opened the door for Albon to go, we'll have that one, thank you. So he's going to have the DRS on Norris next time round, or at least actually even into this corner. Yep, there he goes. Alex now at peak performance. Plus 7s across the board. 90 overtaking, 92 defending, 90 braking. This is kind of optimum Alex. I think we've had enough overtakes for now. We just need to get this to get wet enough to prevent DRS, and then we should be able to pull away from Norris once the DRS is shut off again. Because Norris is only just holding on. Slowed around wide, but it doesn't seem to be too detrimental.
Oh no, that's not the one.
See, they can rejoin at that corner sensibly enough. All it did is cost him his position to Hamilton, which was probably not sustainable long term, and he's not actually lost that much confidence, frankly. And now DRS is deactivated anyway, so Gasly, not even if he gets into DRS range, not going to be a thing. In fact, Tsunoda's catching Hamilton anyway. Only 15 laps to go. I am marginally concerned by the fuel situation. I don't think we're actually getting it back fast enough. But he's catching Hamilton whilst conserving fuel, or was anyway. Push the tyres, conserve the fuel. It's a weird combo of instructions here, Yuki. I do apologise. Sure one why, but it was not dangerous. Yuki's still conserving. Yuki's still conserving. Everyone's charging there, apparently. Hamilton just seems dirt slow at this point. I don't know why. I know Yuki's pushing his tyres, but he's only pushing those tyres because he's needing to conserve fuel here. All right, so we're probably all right from here, in fairness. It's still wet, so we should still gather some fuel. Albon's on Magnussen for 12th. Don't think he'll catch De Vries. And he certainly won't catch Ocon for 10th unless they have a moment. So, I mean, there's been a few incidents, but it's been a surprisingly tame Monza. The only person to be lapped is George Russell, who presumably still doesn't have a back wing. No. And even he's not that far off Ricciardo, surprisingly. Like, when you consider the situation. All right, Tsunoda, you can have a go at this. It's 7th through 8th, but we did start this 5th and 6th, but so it would be nice to still stay 6th when you kind of accept Perez and Stroll have come through there. Oh, someone's just had a moment. Oh, Russell. We won't. Albon was catching Magnussen. Okay. For some reason just now isn't catching Magnussen, and I don't fully know why. Last lap is yet to begin, by the way. It's starting for Yuki shortly. So if you could go for the overtake, that'd be superb, Yuki. So deploy and battle assist is actually a thing that works, apparently. So neutral isn't, but deploy and battle assist should get him to deploy at the right moment, i.e. there. But let's go indeed, Yuki. Let's go indeed. The crucial overtake, because there's no DRS to help out Hamilton get it back at him out of the line. I mean, Yuki's genuinely contending with the Mercedes here. Like, this is a like-for-like fight. There's no... They're all going to be pushing at this stage of the race, that's for sure. That's superb work from Yuki in the end. Meanwhile, Alex ends up about 1.5 seconds behind. Really killed his race, that. I'm not sure points were on for Alex. Maybe if we'd optimised his pit stop. I think we did do it the wrong way, but there might have been a way of getting maybe a couple of seconds through the pit stop. It's 6.5 seconds to 10. Whether or not we could have got that much, I don't think so. The Alpine's double stacked as well, so remarkable they ended up where they did. Stroll was 3rd. Max started 9th. Perez started 18th. Stroll started somewhere like 15th or 16th. And they are 1, 2, 3. If you ever wanted to know the problems with F1 Manager 23, that sums it up right there, that podium. This race started with Leclerc, Alonso, Sainz as 1, 2, 3. Yep, there you go. There's the summary. There's the summary of that race. Despite no problems with Leclerc, no problems with Fernando Alonso, these 3 drivers got through them. I cannot explain Lance Stroll. I cannot explain Lance Stroll. He needs nerfing badly. Genuinely, I just want to put it out there, I have the capability to nerf Lance Stroll myself. If you want to see me do that, and you don't think it's a bad idea for me to do that, I will do it at your request. It is a genuine option that I can do, but I'll only do it on your permissions. But it does see that separation at the top extend a little bit once again. A bit of a shame, really. Stroll's coming back into this fight for 5th, I guess it is. No points for Lando, crucially allows us to extend. Of course, Albon got points in the sprint, so not a completely pointless weekend from Alex. As we get to 109 points, we do it in style in the end with 11 points, extending the gap on McLaren crucially as well there. Just sort of living in the no man's land 5th. Only 5th and 6th in the pit stops though. Our sporting director has just gained 1 aptitude, although weirdly seems to have lost processes. I don't know what's gone on there, but decent prize money, which is helpful. Might actually be able to do something after this race now. So inspections have failed on side pods, great, and front wings. That didn't take long, blimey. The inspection has failed on the old suspension, which is fine. So Formula 3 is done. Johnny Edgar from Gregoire Saucy, I just love the name, and Taylor Barnard. But it's 2 weeks we get more items in for next race, which is, oh god, it's Azerbaijan. Oh god, we only get 1 of everything as well for Azerbaijan. It's not a sprint weekend though. I took away the sprint weekend for Azerbaijan because, good god. But it tends to be an entertaining race nonetheless. It's just whether we can get through the practices unscathed as well, because whilst there will be a new suspension in, it will still only be the 2nd suspension, I believe, that we've developed, so we'll only have 1 each. And it's not like Yuki's got a spare of the suspension set he's on now either. So they could run separate suspensions with a backup. He's now on the only version of Spec 3. So either way, he's going to be on the only version of Spec 3 or Spec 4. I am joking about Lance Stroll. Whilst the capability is there, I would never do it anyway, just because I want to maintain the integrity of the save, because as soon as you change one person's, then there's always question marks about other things. The only thing I will ever change is the calendar and reserve drivers to maintain them in-house for as long as there are reserve drivers to maintain in-house. As soon as, of course, we move into the reserve drivers being predominantly new-gen drivers, then there's nothing to maintain. And of course, as soon as reserve drivers become main drivers, they can go where they like, frankly. They can break their allegiances just to secure a first-team drive. So it's only really reserve drivers that we meddle with, and the calendar. So I'll also, actually, genuinely, take your considerations for sprint races next year. I'm going to maintain Silverstone as a sprint race. I think I'm likely going to maintain Canada as a sprint race because that was a fun weekend. But the other ones might be open again. As much as I like Spa as a sprint race, we have done it 2 years running now, in game and in real life, because it's one already. Same with Sao Paulo. It's one already, and it's in this year again, just because it does tend to be a good one. Just because they have done 2 back-to-back, I will open them up to the floor, effectively. So I'd love to hear your considerations on those. But that's it from me. If you enjoyed this, like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, thank you for watching. Ta-ra.